Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a specific, maybe less familiar, chemical market, trichloroacetyl chloride.
Right, it sounds technical, maybe a bit obscure.
Yeah, exactly. But looking at its market for 2025 and beyond can actually tell us quite a bit about where big industries like, say, agriculture and pharma are heading.
Absolutely. It's a really crucial intermediate. Think of it as a key building block for a lot of essential chemicals that, make those sectors tick.
A building block, I like that, for things we use every day eventually.
Pretty much from medicines to, well, products that help grow our food. It's quite foundational.
Okay, and we've got some serious data to work with here, right? A big market report.
We do. It's pretty comprehensive. Over 250 pages, the latest edition, full of data, forecasts up to 2033, gives us a solid view.
Great. So our mission then is to pull out the key stuff, the really important insights from this report, to give you a clear picture of where this market stands now and where it's likely going. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so globally, what's the headline number for 2025?
Well, the estimate for 2025 puts the global market at about USD 600 and 142.5 million. So just over $6.1 billion.
6.1 billion. Okay. And what's the growth looking like?
It's projected to grow quite steadily. The forecast for 2033 is USD 9075.27 million.
Wow. Okay. So
That works out to a compound annual growth rate, a CGR, of 5.00% for that period, 2025 to 2033.
5% CAGR. Pretty solid, consistent growth then.
Exactly. It's not explosive, but it's definitely steady upward movement.
And the report uses a specific time frame for these figures.
Yeah, they set 2024 as the base year. They look back at historical data from 2021 to 24,
Yep.
use 2025 as the current estimate, and then projected forward, like we said, to 2033.
Right. So it gives us context, past, present, and future outlook.
A good, solid foundation for the analysis.
Okay, global picture established. Let's break it down by region. Who are the big players geographically?
Right now, North America is definitely leading the pack.
Okay.
For 2025, it's pegged at over 40% of the total global revenue.
40%, that's significant. What does that translate to in dollars?
The figure in the report is USD 161.33 million for 2025, and it's expected to keep growing well, with a CAGR of 7.0% through 2033.
7%, so growing faster than the global average.
Yes, slightly faster. Within North America, the U.S. is the giant, obviously around 8.7 billion in 2025, but Canada and Mexico are significant too, showing good growth rates, actually slightly higher KGRs projected for them.
Interesting. So what's driving North America's dominance here?
It seems to be a combination of things. First, strong demand from the pharmaceutical industry. They use it a lot for making active pharmaceutical ingredients, APIs.
That's right, the core part of the medicine.
Exactly. And second, big demand from agriculture as well. Plus, North America has pretty strict regulations, which tends to drive demand for high-purity chemicals like this one. Quality control is key there.
Makes sense. High-stakes industries needing reliable inputs. Okay, what about across the Atlantic? Europe.
Europe's number 2, holding a solid share over 30% of global revenue in 2025.
Still a major player then.
Definitely. The market size estimated there is USD 954.20 million for 2025, with a projected CAGR of 6.8%. So also growing quite healthily, just a touch slower than North America.
And within Europe, any standouts?
Yeah, you've got several key countries, the UK, Germany, France, Italy, Russia, Spain. They're all substantial markets. Germany and the UK look particularly strong in terms of size and growth.
Okay. And what's the story behind Europe's demand? Similar drivers.
Similar, but maybe with a slightly different emphasis. Europe has a really strong chemical synthesis industry. So trichloroacetyl chloride is used extensively there as an intermediate for making all sorts of organic and fine chemicals.
Things like
Cosmetics, other agrochemicals, different types of medicines. It's quite versatile. And there's also a noticeable focus in Europe on moving towards more sustainable production methods in the chemical sector.
Right, sustainability is a big theme there. Okay, fascinating. Let's pivot to Asia-Pacific, APAC. What's happening there?
APAC is really interesting. The report estimates its share at around 23% of global revenue in 2025. Now, the market size figure stated USD 140, 100, and 112.73 million does seem, well, a bit high compared to the global total and the other regions mentioned.
Okay, a potential data point to be cautious with, perhaps.
Potentially, yeah. might be a quirk in this specific report edition. But putting that specific number aside for a moment, the key story for APAC is growth. It's projected to have the highest KGR of all regions.
The highest, what's the number?
A very strong 9.2% in TGR predicted between 2025 and 2033.
Wow, 9.2%. So even if the starting number needs a second look, the growth trend is clear. Which countries are pushing that?
China is a huge driver, of course, but also Japan, South Korea, India, Australia, Singapore, Taiwan too. And Southeast Asia as a block is significant. India actually is forecast to have an incredibly fast TGR, 11.1%.
11% for India. Remarkable. Why such rapid growth across APAC?
A big part of it is agriculture. Trichloroacetyl chloride is essential for making pesticides, particularly one called chlorpyrifos.
Ah, we mentioned that one earlier.
Exactly. And it's very widely used in APAC's massive agricultural sector. Plus, you just have significant economic expansion in places like China and India, boosting demand for, well, everything, including agricultural inputs.
Okay, so agriculture is a recurring theme. Let's touch on the other regions. South America.
South America holds a smaller share, just over 5% of the global revenue in 2025. That's about USD 1449.42 million. But, like APAC, it shows strong growth potential.
What's the CAGR there?
Projected at 8.7%. So again, significantly higher than the global average. Brazil and Argentina lead the way, but others like Colombia, Peru, Chile are going fast too.
And the driver in South America, is it agriculture again?
Agriculture plays a role, but the report specifically highlights growing demand from the biotechnology industry there for things like biochemical synthesis and other biotech applications.
Interesting, a different angle. Okay, Middle East.
Even smaller share, around 2% in 2025, about USD 125.70 million. But here's the thing, the projected CAGR is the highest regionally.
Higher than APAC.
Slightly, yeah. 9.3% CAGR forecasted for the Middle East from 2025 to 2033. Key markets are Saudi Arabia, UAE, Turkey, Qatar.
Wow. What's fueling that really high growth rate in the Middle East?
It's fascinating, actually. The report points to increasing demand from the cosmetics industry for use in skincare products and other cosmetics.
Cosmetics, that's quite different from the other region's main drivers.
It really is. Shows how diverse the applications can be.
Absolutely. And finally, Africa.
Africa holds the smallest share, around 1% of global revenue, roughly USD 839 million in 2025. The CAGR is projected at a solid 8.0%. South Africa and Nigeria are the main markets mentioned.
Still growing faster than the global average, though. What's the potential there?
The driver highlighted for Africa is the expanding specialty chemicals industry linked to overall industrial growth. So, uses in manufacturing, but also mining and construction sectors as their capacity increases.
Okay, so a really varied picture across the globe. Growth everywhere, but driven by different sectors in different places. Let's dig into the product itself. The report segments by purity.
It does. And perhaps unsurprisingly, the 99% purity level is expected to be the dominant segment.
Why 99%?
Well, think about those key applications. Pharmaceuticals, high-precision agrochemicals. You absolutely need that high level of purity for safety and effectiveness. You can't have impurities messing things up.
Right, consistency and quality are paramount.
Exactly. But what's also interesting is that the fastest growing segment is predicted to be the even higher purity level, 99.5%.
Oh, even purer. Why the faster growth there?
That ultra-high purity is becoming more critical for really advanced pharmaceuticals and highly specialized chemicals like next-generation, high-performance agrochemicals. Even trace impurities can cause issues in those very sensitive applications.
So a trend towards even greater precision. The report mentions other levels, too.
Yeah, it touches on 90% and others, but they're expected to remain smaller parts of the market compared to the high-purity grades.
Got it. Now, what about how it's actually used, the applications?
So currently, the single biggest application is making that insecticide we mentioned, chlorpyrifos. Its widespread use in agriculture gives it the largest share right now.
Okay, the pesticide link is strong.
Very strong. But the application segment seeing rapid expansion is organic chemical synthesis.
Which means?
It means using trichloroacetyl chloride more broadly as that intermediate, that building block we talked about earlier, for making a whole range of other things, specialty chemicals, different agrochemicals, various medicines. It's used in processes like acetylation, adding specific chemical groups onto other molecules. It's a really versatile tool in the chemist's toolbox.
So while one pesticide dominates now, its use as a general chemical tool is growing fast.
Exactly. That versatility is driving growth.
And this leads us to the end-use industries. Who's ultimately buying this stuff?
Well, lining up with the chlorpyrifos point, the agriculture sector is the largest end user currently. driven by the need for pesticides and herbicides to, maximize crop yields and feed everyone.
Makes sense, but who's the fastest growing?
That would be pharmaceuticals. We keep coming back to it. But its role in synthesizing APIs for so many different types of drugs, antivirals, antibacterials, anti-inflammatories, the list goes on, is really fueling rapid growth in demand from this sector.
So agriculture is biggest now, pharma is catching up fast. Any other notable end users?
The report also mentions the general chemical industry, textiles, and others, but they represent smaller slices of the pie compared to ag and pharma.
Okay, crystal clear. So if we pull back a bit, what are the main engines driving this whole market forward?
The report boils it down to three key drivers. One, rising demand for agrochemicals globally. Two, the continued expansion of the pharmaceutical industry. And three, the increasing use of trichloroacetyl chloride as a versatile chemical intermediate across various synthesis processes.
Demand, demand, demand from key sectors. What about things holding it back? Any restraints?
Yes, a couple of important ones. First, the price of the raw materials needed to make it can be volatile. Swings in those prices can impact manufacturers' costs and profits.
Standard supply chain pressures.
Pretty much. Second, handling this chemical requires care, so there are stringent safety and environmental regulations. Complying with those laws adds costs, which can be a restraint.
Okay. Economic pressures and regulatory hurdles. What about looking ahead? Any major trends shaping the future?
Two main trends stand out. One is a growing focus across the chemical industry on sustainable production practices. That's likely to influence how trichloroacetyl chloride is made and used going forward.
Greener chemistry?
Potentially, yes. The other trend is ongoing advancements in chemical synthesis technology itself, finding better, maybe cheaper, maybe cleaner ways to make and use chemicals like this.
Innovation and sustainability pushing things forward. Okay, last piece. The companies involved. What's the competitive landscape like?
It's described as competitive, as you'd expect. The major players are focusing on a few key areas: improving their technology, producing cost-effectively, and meeting those environmental standards we talked about.
Who are these players? Big global firms.
Yeah, it's a mix, but includes large global chemical companies. They're headquartered across North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. They're investing in advanced synthesis, sustainability, forming partnerships, the usual strategies to gain an edge.
And the demand from ag and pharma is making it more competitive.
Definitely. That strong demand is attracting attention and likely intensifying the competition among suppliers.
Does the report name any specific companies?
It lists quite a few, yeah. Examples given include Yandipon Chemical, Hari Orgachem, which trades as Chloratech Industries, Chengwu Kenhui Environmental Protection Technology, Ningbo Inno Farmchem. It's a varied group from different regions.
Okay, so a dynamic field. Let's wrap this up. What are the core takeaways for you from this deep dive?
I think the key points are: 1, this market is set for steady, consistent growth. 2, that growth is overwhelmingly driven by the essential needs of agriculture and pharmaceuticals. 3, there are significant regional differences. North America leads now, but APAC and the Middle East are growing fastest.
And it's not just a simple growth story, right? There are other forces at play.
Absolutely not. You've got this constant interplay between technology, how it's made regulations, how it's controlled, and economics to cost raw materials. All these factors are continuously shaping the market's direction.
Really fascinating stuff. So here's a final thought to leave you with. We talked about the growing focus on sustainable agriculture and pharma. How might real breakthroughs in, say, green chemistry or totally new ways of synthesizing chemicals eventually disrupt the growth path we've just discussed for trichloroacetyl chloride? It's definitely food for thought. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.